diversifying is key, right? Like we're all in the real estate world, and there's a lot of people you and I work with where it's like, it's real estate or bust, and it's done really well, but I don't think there's any problem, and I do it myself, is just to diversify amongst asset classes, right? Real estate's done well. I think it's going to continue to do well, especially long term, but there's ways to diversify even within real estate. And what's really cool about real estate is that, you know, we only work with investors, and there's a lot of really cool ways that people have made money through real estate.
Hi, everyone. This is Alina Araujo from Windermere. I am joined today by Kyle Williams from Velocity 1031. We are here to talk about all things 1031 exchange. And Kyle, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great seeing you and excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to talk about what savvy homeowners and maybe investors want to know as to what is exactly 1031 exchange and all things 1031.
Yeah, 1031 exchange, section code 1031, it's part of the tax code, but it allows investors to sell their investment property. And this could be rentals, which a lot of people around here have, right? Could be land, could be commercial, any number of types of investment properties, but it allows those investors to sell the investment property and really use all the equity to reinvest into new investment property. So they're deferring the taxes, which allows investors to build wealth through real estate when they're buying new investment property.
Okay. And does that cover like the entire United States or nationally, internationally, or?
Yeah, good question. So technically it's domestic for domestic, foreign for foreign. So if you actually had, say, a condo in Whistler, you could exchange it for something internationally. You couldn't do a 1031 exchange back into the United States.
Okay.
And so it's generally all 50 states. Technically the Virgin Islands work. Guam, Puerto Rico does not qualify.
That was my question.
But we see, I think Puerto Rico has enough tax havens on their own.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of people really exchange, like out of California, for example, into Washington.
Yep. A
lot of people from Washington have exchanged elsewhere in the country. So it allows investors to be mobile and really invest where they see fit over the next 5-10 years, whatever that time frame is. So it's really a cool part of the tax code that probably not enough people take advantage of.
I know. It's amazing what you can do with that.
Yep.
So walk me through the process. Like, how long does it actually take for the 1031 to take place and to close on your new property?
Sure. So yeah, there are a couple time frames that investors have to follow. I should preface this with our role is that it's called a qualified intermediary. So when someone asks me, what do you do? And I say 1031s, inevitably they'll say, what's that? I'll say, it's kind of like escrow. When you close the sale of a property, your house, for example, money goes to escrow. Instead, with a 1031 exchange, money will go to a trust account we set up on the client's behalf, and then that will go to the new replacement property.
Okay.
So our job is that of a disinterested party. We hold funds for the duration of the 1031 exchange. How long do we hold funds for? Well, after clients close on their sale, they have 45 days to identify a new property to purchase, and ultimately 180 days to close on what they identified.
Okay.
So if you, let's say that you're selling a rental and you close on your sale today, you have 45 days to find new property. We call that identification, which means you have to let us know in writing what you intend on purchasing. Ultimately, you have 6 months, 180 days to close on that property. So most people don't need 180 days, but maybe you're buying a new build and it's going to take 5 months, right? 6 months. You need that full 180 days. That's what it's there for. But ideally, in a perfect world, someone closed on their sale, they identify a property in 20 or 30 days and close 20 or 30 days after that.
Okay. So here's an example, like what happens if somebody has an investment property, but they want to move somewhere where they want to make that a primary residence. Walk us through that situation.
Good one. So definitely an underused part of the tax code. So a lot of investors now are baby boomers, right? And what are they doing every day? They're retiring. They don't want to manage properties, even though they love real estate. So what they can do is actually exchange into their dream home. And they have to go through a couple steps first before they actually move into it, because a 1031 exchange is really investment property for investment property.
Okay.
It's not investment
like
property.
for like, right? Yeah.
Like for like. It's not investment property for personal use. So the caveat is that after you exchange into a property, let's say that, I'm retired, I own 4 rentals in the area worth $3 million. And I want to exchange that for my dream home on the golf course in Palm Springs. I do the exchange into the dream home. The first 2 years, it's an investment property for me. I don't have to rent it full time, but I basically need to stay out of it for 2 years. I can use it very minimally.
Airbnb qualifies
You can
that?
put on Airbnb,
Okay.
absolutely. VRBO, you can rent it full time, whatever the case is. But after 24 months of it being an investment property, I can move into it, make it my second home or my forever home at that point. And really cool way for investors, especially older investors that have a lot of equity in their properties that don't want to manage real estate anymore, to move into a property.
How money wise? So let's say I have a property here I'm going to sell for $1 million, and the property I want to buy is less. How does that work?
Good question. So in a 1031, you want to do 2 things: buy for equal or greater value and reinvest your proceeds into a new investment property. And proceeds, the definition would be basically any money that you're going to receive at closing. So buy for equal or greater value, reinvest your proceeds. So I sell for $1 million. I want to buy for $1 million. And theoretically, you can take off closing costs and stuff, but we'll just say $1 million. And you find something great that cash flows really well at $850,000. So theoretically, that difference you buy down for, that would be taxable.
Okay.
We'd call that boot. So if anyone ever hears the word boot in regards to 1031, it just means taxable money. Meaning that $150,000 you bought down for is going to be taxable. You're going to pay tax on that. The rest is deferred in the 1031. And many people take a practical approach and say, I'm selling for $1 million, but I don't want $1 million worth of real estate right now. I can find something in Eastern Washington or down south where properties cash flow really well, great cap rates for 850, 900,000, right? I could buy a couple properties for that. So there may be a small tax consequence there, and then the majority is deferred in the 1031. So we call that a partial exchange, definitely doable. But many people are pragmatic. Many people are less pragmatic, I should say, and don't want to pay any more in taxes than when they have to. And, come hell or high water, they're going to find a property or properties totaling over $1 million. So, in that case, it makes sense to buy for equal or greater value because they don't want to pay any taxes. But some people are more practical and want to scale down, and they're fine paying some of the taxes.
Do you see people like, I actually had a client and he had a property, was selling out here. He ended up buying in Arizona. He ended up paying a little more because that was going to be ultimately the retirement property, that like the forever home, right? What mistake do you see people making in your experience, like
in the process? So identification is a big one. And I think with as quickly as the market moves, especially up here, I mean, the West Coast and really Seattle is very, very unique to the rest of the country. The rest of the country doesn't feel the weight of finding a property within 45 days, right? If you live in Omaha, Nebraska, you'll probably find a rental in the area within 45 days, right? But up here, it's like great properties priced really well, priced under the market. You're going to get multiple offers over the weekend, right? And so that 45 days to identify is something that people really need to take serious, because there's no extensions outside of being directly affected by a federally declared disaster. So, which doesn't happen a lot up here. So that's a big one, is people who drag their feet on identification. We'll find a property. We're kind of keeping our eyes out, and then it's day 37 and we should have put more time and effort into this. So that's really the job of a good real estate broker, is being on top of the clients and saying, hey, you guys need to be looking at everything I show you. You guys need to be out there finding properties, because that 45 days it's going to come up quick. Wow.
What about exchange residential to commercial? Can you do that?
Yep, absolutely. A lot of people want, with the investment community, I know there's a lot of issues with like landlord tenant laws in Seattle and King County and everything. a lot of people want to exchange out of their area, or maybe they want to buy commercial. That works too.
Yeah.
A great tip for people who don't know about 1031 exchanges is landowners can do exchanges into property that actually produces income, because a lot of landowners, you have people all over Washington state, all over the Northwest that have owned land for 30 or 40 years. And if you were to approach them and say, hey, have you thought about selling your property? They'll say, yeah, but what am I going to do? Sell this, pay taxes, buy something just expensive? I might as well just keep this land, right?
Have it appreciate a little bit.
Yeah, have it appreciate a little bit, but everything's gone up over the last 30 or 40 years that they owned it. But what they don't know is that they can actually take all that stagnant equity and invest into, say, a duplex, for example. That $500,000 piece of land up in Skagit County. It's like, yeah, did you know that you can exchange that for, say, a rental in Everett that's kicking off, $3,500 a month in income?
Amazing.
Right? And you get the tax benefited appreciation, which they're not getting with land. And that's really the number one benefit to owning investment real estate, is that tax benefited appreciation, which is just basically a huge write-off. You get over 27 and a half years for residential and 39 years if it's commercial. So a lot of landowners do exchanges as soon as someone tells them they can.
Amazing.
Yep.
That's a great option for them. Absolutely. Have there been, give me one or two examples of like, hey, this was like an amazing thing that my clients did and you saw how happy they were. I mean, just something that encourages people to do something like this.
Sure. The big one that we see on a regular basis is clients who exchange into their dream home. Yeah. Like that's a big one because so many people don't know about it. I think there's a lot of CPAs that really don't know that there's that really, house hack, if you will, for investors to do. So again, if you want to eventually exchange your investment properties that you've got a lot of equity in and a huge tax basis, you just need to exchange, use it as investment property for 24 months. And after that, you can do with it whatever you want. You can make that your forever home. That's a great one. Another really interesting thing to do and look at are what are called DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trusts. And DSTs are technically securities. So it's nothing that we have any affiliation with or sell. We're not licensed to do that, and we're a disinterested party. So you'd have to work with a specific type of financial advisor that handles DSTs. But it's definitely worth talking to financial advisors about if you're an older investor, because DSTs are really fractional interests in oftentimes institutional properties or portfolios, where you're still on title, but you're paying a trustee to manage the properties for you. So it's 100% passive.
Wow. And
we've seen a ton of people, especially again, older baby boomers that are retired now, that they say, I had no idea about this. I talked to my financial advisor. It's definitely an option. I'm going to list and sell my properties and go 100% passive.
Amazing. Yeah.
And if they wouldn't have known about DSTs, they'd still be dealing with the terrible T's of real estate, which real estate investing, which people know as termites, toilets, trash.
That's just awesome.
Yeah. Someone said rotten R's. And I was like, what are rotten R's? Rodents, renters, relatives. Same sort of thing. But when they find out that they can go 100% passive, they want to get rid of those properties. They love real estate. It's made a lot of money. It's tangible. They get it. But at the same time, they don't want to manage properties anymore. So we
time consuming. It does cost money.
Exactly. It's fine right now for you or I, but when we're older and we're retired,
I want to cash out.
Yeah, exactly. And so DSTs, we've seen a lot of, real happy clients and stories that from clients that go into DSTs and, they still own real estate. They deferred their taxes. And most importantly, they just collect a check every month. They don't have to manage anything. Pretty
nice passive income check.
Absolutely. It's like they call it mailbox money.
Learning something new every day.
Yeah. Yep.
With everything that's happening in the market today, like in the real estate market, what is one advice you would give maybe the first time investor or even like, a homeowner who's thinking about making any kind of moves?
So my background is finance. I pay close attention to the markets. I mean, really, I think diversifying is key, right? Like we're all in the real estate world and there's a lot of people you and I work with where it's like, it's real estate or bust, and it's done really well, but I don't think there's any problem. And I do it myself, is just to diversify amongst asset classes, right? Real estate's done well. I think it's going to continue to do well, especially long term, but there's ways to diversify even within real estate. And what's really cool about real estate is that, we only work with investors, and there's a lot of really cool ways that people have made money through real estate. There's not a one size fits all approach. So if people ask me about best practices, I'll say, you need to talk to serious investors who do this full time. This is their job, is managing properties, investing in real estate. And what's funny is that they all have different stories as to, what works best for them. And so that's one thing I don't think you see in other worlds when it comes to investing is the diversification amongst ways to do it. There are so many ways to get involved in real estate. And even if it's just owning a primary residence, it's like, you don't know what it's going to do day to day, but long term, it's a tangible asset people need, and it's going to go up over time. And the one thing, I'm going to add this in here, I know you didn't ask it, but
I love it. Please.
Frustrating things that you deal with this more than I do is people who try to time interest rates and predict the interest rate market.
Thank you. You cannot predict the market or time it right.
I don't think Jay Powell, the Fed chair, knows what rates are going to do. Nobody knows what rates are going to do. And, I thought about this recently, and I brought it up in one of my presentations, but if you would have bought a house on the east side in Bellevue or Kirkland in like 2007, before the Great Recession, a couple years later, you're thinking that was the worst decision I ever made. You bought at the worst possible time in the history of real estate. If you still own it today, you're a millionaire on paper.
100%.
So it's really, I don't like this cliche, but it's very true. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we don't know what rates are going to do. I mean, they've gone down a little bit over the last few weeks, right? But rates could go up too. If there's inflationary pressure, we could end up seeing rates go up. I mean, we don't know. The point is that, if you're trying to time the market, good luck. I mean, maybe you'll be successful, maybe you won't, but for long-term clients buying an investment property or primary residence that they're going to live in, and, for 10, 15, 20 years, it's not a bad day to buy real estate. I don't care what day it is, right? You could buy at the worst possible time in the history of real estate, and 15 years later, you've made a lot of money. So again, past performance isn't indicative of future results.
But we look at history.
Yeah, right? We look at history, and it's a tangible asset people need.
Yes.
Right. You can't say the same thing about cryptocurrency or anything else. And it's not to say anything bad about those, but you can live without Bitcoin. You can't live without shelter.
Exactly.
Right. One of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is having shelter, right? Yes. So it's something we all need. And I think when clients talk to me about interest rates and everything, I can just imagine the conversations you have, and especially lenders with, clients trying to outsmart everyone and outsmart the market. And it's like, listen, if you're going to hold this thing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's not a bad day to buy real estate.
I always tell people, like, you got to get even if you're a first time home buyer, you got to get your foot into the market, whether it's a condo or a townhouse, to let you jump into, like, let's say your dream, would be to have a yard and to have a house, right? And then at least that's what I've done, right? Like you keep the rental, and then maybe that rental grows, and then you upgrade, just like you said, like you can either upgrade it in another state where it could maybe cash flow better or something like that. But in the end, you just have to get your foot in the door and be not only a homeowner, you can be an investor, a savvy one, using, these amazing tactics that not a lot of people know about, right?
Yep. So. Absolutely. And it doesn't even have to be here too. I mean, we have clients that buy rentals in Indianapolis or Kansas City for like, $90,000. And it's like, I bought my first rental, and, it's doing really well. Kicks off a couple $100 a month. And
nice.
It's like, just because real estate's expensive here, it doesn't mean you have to be here. Yeah, it's more practical if it's here, but you got to get your foot in the door somewhere else if you can't afford a home here. It's like there's surrounding areas, there's other states, and that's what's cool about 1031 is that you can diversify geographically.
And you can connect with me because I have connections almost in every state, right? Like, and that person can be your eyes and ears for those properties that you cannot maintain or you cannot be physically there, right? So it's like, it's who you know and who you can trust ultimately. So, exactly. But diversify, not telling you to do it here only, diversify in any other state that could bring you cash flow.
Yep. And other states tend to cash flow really well. I mean, people generally buy real estate up here for appreciation, but you may not have as much appreciation in Indiana, but it may cash flow really well.
Mailbox money.
Mailbox money. Yeah, exactly. So this is not, it's not to endorse one market or another, but yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that I would change or, I wish is that young people were able to afford homes, right? Like maybe our parents or people before us were, because it's the market's gotten so expensive, but that's the issue when you live in a place like Washington State. It's like people aren't leaving. There's more people coming in every day.
And our economy's strong. That's why people are coming. That's why the employment is really good here. So
our economy is strong, and housing's not going anywhere. Yes, we don't know from a broad standpoint if there's ever going to be a recession. I mean, there will be a recession. We just don't know when. Right? Next week, next year, next decade.
Right.
The economy's cyclical, right? But there's always going to be that need for housing. So
always, yeah. Anything else you want to share that we didn't cover that would be useful to anyone who's thinking about doing a 1031?
Yeah. Know who you work with in the 1031 world. It's good to have a local contact. Our office is in Bellevue. Our company is based in California. We're a national company. We do exchanges in every state. But yeah, most importantly, know who you work with.
Yes.
Right. Because
and now you guys know Kyle. So
and you want to know who is handling your money, what the steps are they have in place to watch that money. What we do that's very unique is that we move funds directly from escrow into a trust account. So the client has to sign off on any movement of funds. We have a portal where clients can view their accounts 24/7. So we try to do everything with transparency and safety first and foremost in mind. But again, there's great exchange companies out there. Just know who you're working with. Just know what their steps are. Don't let them tell you we're great. Just find out, what they do differently to safeguard your funds.
How long have you been in 1031?
Almost 10 years now. I've been in finance for about 20 years since college, and then got into 1031s right 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was kind of a natural transition, but yeah, my background is definitely finance, and I love that aspect.
I think that's amazing to have as a background.
Yeah, it's 1031s. People always want to know, how do you get into this? And it's such a niche market, but it definitely helps to have some sort of finance background, tax background, something related. Just because there are so many moving parts. The section code 1031 itself is not very big, but there's a lot of things that happen in 1031 that you need to be able to discuss and guide clients on, or know when to involve their CPA or their attorney.
Of course.
Right. So
it's an intricate situation when you're dealing with so much money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something that all clients need to know, who they're working with, what their expertise level is. Our legal counsel cannot guide clients, but we know when to involve a client's attorney, their CPA, and that's super important to involve all the professionals as needed.
This was amazing. These are pieces of information that, I love to hear, and I know my clients love to listen to this and, learn as much as they can so they can reinvest. And, really that's like the goal, right? Like, this is to help set our kids or yourselves for the future. And real estate is the most amazing transportation piece, right, to get you there. So I will link all the information for Kyle, and please reach out to him with any questions. And if you're thinking of buying or selling, let us know and we'll help you with your 1031. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.